The differences that I see between monogamy and polygamy honestly would be just the fact of the amount of legal wise that a person is able to have. The actual amount of lovers don't change, but just who you're able to dictate to the law and to whatever government you have, the amount of wives. With monogamy is only one. In polygamy, it would be however many you see fit. And speaking of the family structures during the colonial times, there were three very distinct family structures. Obviously, the indigenous people were very matriarchal in the smaller groups, but as you expanded into larger groups, it tended to be that the men, for some reason, held more political power, even though in the smaller groups, it was the women who kind of dominated, and their side of the family is what mattered the most, and their opinions on the people in the group mattered the most. When it comes to the colonial family, it's the typical colonial family of the man having all the power and the women and children just kind of being extensions of his power. That is until the children obviously grow up and start their own families. That's when it changes. But before then, it's just based on, who benefits the most and who can help out the most. And that's kind of how the colonial family's structure worked. Then also you have the enslaved African American people who didn't really have a family structure because they weren't treated as people. So they kind of just didn't keep up with the family. It was just whoever did whatever with whoever. Now, as you move forward to the modern era of families in America, you kind of get away from that traditional colonial view of families, of the man holding all the power in the ideal of how a marriage should work. Because in practice, it was still, for the most part, that the men held the power and the women were at home taking care of kids in the house. But the reasoning behind getting married wasn't so much for the politics and the benefits that marriage could bring you. It was much more for the fact of if you actually liked the person that you were getting in a relationship with. And I think that's the change. That's the biggest change that happened during the modern era of family. During today's era of family structure, I think it is a large stepping stone of the ideal companionate marriage where people get married for how they feel of the other person. And I think for the most part, that is how most marriages work out today, is that the people involved get married only because, not only because, but mainly because they are focused on how they feel and their love for the other person rather than the benefits that the marriage could possibly bring them.